can't quite believe it, but it's now the 10-year anniversary of the Translational Immunology Lab at VIB in KU Leuven. This is what we've been working on over the last 10 years. These are all of the titles from our papers and a word cloud of them. You can see we've been doing a lot of work on the thymus, on autoimmunity, mouse models, Tregs, FOXP3, and a whole host of different disease models. This is where we've been publishing over the last 10 years. It's really gratifying to see Nature Immunology so prominent, with the top journal that we've published in consistently being JACI. And here are my co-authors over the last 10 years. Obviously, a big contribution from James and other people from the lab, Susan, Stephanie, Jossie, Dean, really contributing over many publications. We've also had really great collaborators, Karin Wolters, Michelle Linterman, Patrick Matisse, Isabel Metz, many good papers. So this is where it all started. 2009, 10 years ago, an empty room with me, James, and Nadia. Very quickly, we built up a team. We had Sun, Lei, Wim, Dina, and Ali all join the lab. 2010, we had Stephanie join the lab, and Sue. And we also got our first big funding, an ERC grant to start the human project. 2011, we had Benedict join the lab, Dean and Natalie became master students, and Hayden joined the lab. My little boy joined, little boy born and unofficially a member of the lab. 2011 was a really pivotal moment for me because it was the first time that I really thought the lab is going to work. The first few years is all about setting up new research, new experimental systems, but in 2011 we first had a proper research paper in a good journal in Blood, and I thought, okay, it's going to work out. 2012 we had Susan join the lab, and Kim, Jay, and Jossie. We had our first real breakthrough paper in 2012. This is a research project that was led by James, and he collaborated with the Bart de Stroper lab and worked on thymic epithelial cells to get a really fantastic Nature Immunology paper. And in 2013 we were able to do it again with work from Wim P in Nature Immunology on the homeostatic networks of regulatory T cells. A lot of great teams in our lab over the last 10 years. 2013 we had our first lab wedding. Dina got married and James was there to give her away. This is also the year that Jason, Deanna, and Anne-Marie joined the lab. 2014, Pierre-Andre, Ward, and Aurelie joined the lab. We had a lot of babies that year. I guess Hayden was a really good lab baby and paved the way for a lot more babies to come. 2014, we moved over. We left our old location in ONN2 and had to pack everything in boxes and move to an empty space in CDG. This is the area being transformed for us to join. Susan very proud of her own new lab space. 2014 we had our first PhD graduations, with Wim and Dina successfully defending their PhDs. And in 2015, Lei and Anne also successfully defended their PhDs. 2015 we had Erica, Manu and Bert join the lab. 2015 we set up a charity to support the human research in the lab. 2016 we had Steffi, Marilyn and Christelle join the lab. 2016 was a really big year. James had originally joined the lab as a technician, and then later on decide he'd do a PhD as well. 2016 he graduated his PhD with an amazing 34 publications just from his PhD. Really could not have been a more successful PhD and could not have gone to a more deserving scientist. 2016 was the year of many master students, 6 master students in the lab at once. It was really quite hectic at times. But it was an incredibly successful year for the lab. We got another ERC grant, ERC Consolidator. We had first author papers in Nature Immunology, Nature Genetics, Science Translational Medicine. The lab was awarded the Eppendorf Award. Could not have been a more successful year for the lab. In 2017, Dean graduated. And also in 2017, Susan got a BOFSAP to be able to become independent and have her own position. If anyone hasn't already heard it, I would recommend listening to Susan's interview on the Science Minds podcast to get an idea of Susan's style of research. 2017, we had Oliver, Alexandra, Teresa, John, Carlos, and Anna join the lab. And in 2018, this year, we've had Pierre, Carly, Wenson, Loriana, Fran, and Patricia join the lab. This has been really an amazing year for Stephanie. So she's applying for ZAP this year so that she can also have her own independent lab next year. And it's really just been a complete blockbuster for Stephanie, with first author papers in Blood and Jackie, and last author papers in Jackie, Annals of Rheumatic Diseases, and a couple of last authors in Frontiers, as well as a lot of really top middle authors. Fingers crossed, everything goes smoothly for her start as an independent career next year. So over the last 10 years, our lab has published 127 articles. That's really quite astounding. That's an article a month, every month, for 10 years, including major articles in Nature Medicine, Nature Genetics, Nature Immunology, Science Translational Medicine, Nature Reviews Immunology, Immunity, Cell Reports. We've also trained 135 people, which is, again, more than one new person every month for the last 10 years. Now, half of these have been Erasmus students or short stay scholars, but we've also trained 27 master's students, 15 PhD students, 15 postdocs, and 11 technicians. The lab has achieved more than 10 million in grants and fellowships, including 2 ERCs and more than $500,000 in industrial contracts. And we have developed 2 core facilities, the FACS core and the MuniMouse core, which has really left a mark on the infrastructure of the university. So I think we can be extremely proud of what we've achieved over the past 10 years. So next year, we'll have 4 different teams. We'll have Susan and Stephanie's teams becoming independent here in Leuven. We'll have Manu taking over the neuroimmunology team, staying in Leuven for the next few years and really doing some groundbreaking research. And of course, we'll have the team that's moving over to the Babraham to start a new lab with me. Hopefully, all 4 teams can still work together very productively. And I really hope the next 10 years can be as amazing as the last 10 years have been.